Hi everybody, and welcome to the Chapter 1 Grammar Overview. These videos are intended just sort of to help you in understanding the grammar topics that are covered in the chapter. I know that for most of us, all of the grammar topics discussed should be a review for you, things that you've already learned in Spanish 1000, or 1010, 1020, and 2010, with this being your fourth course in the four-semester sequence. But I know that everyone's different. Some of us are transfer students and have taken Spanish elsewhere, and maybe it's just been a little while since you've had Spanish. So whatever your case may be, I like to give you a little grammar overview, give you some opportunities to practice with what you're going to be learning, and then you have the opportunity to complete your assignments. So as we get started here looking at Chapter 1, you probably learned back in Spanish 1010 about subject pronouns. And I always teach my students about the magical box of Spanish. This box will help you in knowing how to conjugate really any verb. So as we get started here, hopefully you know that yo means I, tú is you, informal. We have él, he, ella, she, and usted, you, formal. Nosotros and nosotras both mean we. Of course, you have we masculine and we feminine. Vosotros and vosotras, you all, only in Spain, again, both masculine and feminine. Ellos and ellas, they, masculine and feminine. And ustedes, you all, well, if you're from the South, we say y'all. So you have those. When we talk about the present tense back in Spanish 1010, we learned about how to conjugate verbs. And this was the process where you removed the ending of the verb, the AR, ER, IR, and then added the appropriate conjugations. And that's what a lot of what you're doing in Chapter 1 involves conjugating verbs in the present tense. So a very quick review: if a verb ends in AR, such as hablar, we drop the AR and add back o, as, a, amos, ais, and an. So we end up with hablo, hablas, habla, hablamos, hablais, and hablan. If a verb were an ER verb, such as comer, we remove the ER ending and add back o, es, amos, eis, and en. So for a verb like comer, you would get como, comes, come, comemos, comes, and comen. Finally, if a verb in the present tense were an IR verb, you again remove the IR, adding back o, es, imos, is, and en. The endings here for the nosotros and vosotros forms are the only that are different between ER and IR verbs. So rather than EMOS, you get IMOS, and rather than EIS, you get IS. Both of those do have accents. Okay, hopefully you're remembering that. We also had some stem changing verbs as well. And there are several common stem changing verbs. I included this sheet in D2L under the Chapter 1 resources. So you have this here, but these are just some common verbs that have E to IE stem changers, E to I stem changers, and O to UE stem changers. I've also included some common Spanish verbs that you should know upon entry in this course, those subject pronouns, of course, and your verb ending. So these are all things that hopefully you have a pretty good understanding of at this point in time. I do want to remind you that when conjugating a stem changing verb such as querer, which has an E to IE stem change, this will not change everywhere, but rather only inside the boot. So for example, if we were talking about the verb querer, we would change the O, Q-U-I-E-R, we would change the E here in querer to an IE because it is a stem changing verb. So essentially, if you start with our stem of Q-U-E-R and put this in all of your boxes, you're going to change that E to an IE, but it's only going to change when it's inside the boot. So the nosotros and vosotros are not inside the boot. If you were to physically draw a boot or a shoe, sometimes these are called boot verbs or shoe verbs, you could draw your boot all the way around the yo, tú, él, ella, usted, and ellos, ellas, ustedes form, and you would end up with a boot, meaning that all of these will change from E to IE, except for your first one. It will remain as an E, and you just throw your endings on there, queremos and querréis. Okay, of course, put your endings on all the others too. So quiero, quieres, quiere, queremos, querés, and quieren. Okay, if your verb had been poder, which is an O to UE stem change, you could put poder in all of your boxes here, and I'm going to copy and paste to save us some time. You can copy and paste poder all the way through, change your O to a UE everywhere except the nosotros and vosotros, because those are not in the boot. Go through and chop off your ER ending, and then add the appropriate verb ending. So we end up with puedo, puedes, puede, podemos, podéis, and pueden. Okay? And so on and so forth with all of those stem changing verbs. So to give you a little practice here, I'd like for you to take a moment just to pause your screen and give these questions a try. Okay, now that you've had a second to pause, hopefully you can see, as we look at these, number one, el actor dormir en el sol. We're saying that the actor sleeps in the sun. We know that the actor, el actor, would be he. Dormir has a stem change from O to UE, which provides us with duermir. We then will chop off our IR. Because we're talking about the actor or he, we're going to use this bottom left box, and our ending should therefore be an E. So el actor duerme en el sol. Number two tells us that nosotros almorzar en un café. You know that nosotros means we. When we take the verb almorzar, we're using our top right box here, our we box. We're going to remove our AR and add back amos to end up with nosotros almorzamos en un café. Finally, ellos hablar español y francés. They speak both Spanish and French. We know that ellos means they. Our they box is our bottom right box down here. We're going to remove our AR and hablar. There's no stem change present here, so we're just going to add our typical AN ending here to end up with hablan. Okay, hopefully you're feeling pretty good about the present tense in Spanish. The next thing discussed in Chapter 1 as a review of previous grammar are the verbs ser and estar. Hopefully you recall these two verbs. For ser, as we conjugate, we end up with soy, eres, es, somos, sois, and son. And I'll type those in for you here. So soy, eres, es, somos, sois, and son. For estar, we end up with estoy, estoy, estás, está, estamos, estáis, and están. If only I could type as fast as I could speak, that would be helpful. Okay, estáis and están. So you have these verbs, ser and estar, in their conjugated forms in the present tense. And a lot of what this chapter focuses on is understanding the difference between ser and estar. So I always teach my students two different acronyms. For ser, we use the acronym topic, and for estar, we use the acronym place. So as we begin with topic, you can see that the T in topic stands for time, the O is origin, the P, profession, the I, identification, and the C, characteristics. For any of these reasons, we're going to use ser rather than estar. So for example, as we were talking about time, this can refer to days, dates, years, seasons, or just the time on a clock. So for example, if I want to say that today is Wednesday, I'm going to say that hoy es miércoles, using ser. If I want to say that it's 5:25, as in the time on a clock, I'm going to say son las 5:25. Okay, so rather than saying están las or something crazy like that, we're going to say son las because we're talking about the time. Okay, for someone's origin, when you're referring to where something is from or what a material is made out of, you're also going to use ser. So Celia es de España. She's from Spain. That's her origin. Or el chocolate es de México. The chocolate is from Mexico. That is the chocolate's origin. For professions, we also use ser. So soy maestro de español. I'm a Spanish teacher. Ellos son estudiantes. They are students. That's their profession. Clayton es jugador de fútbol americano. Clayton is a football player. So when referring to both what someone does for a living and also for hobbies, we're going to use professions. Identification, we use this for basic identification, such as Patricia es mi madre, I'm identifying her as my mother. Tanner es católico, we're identifying his religion. I could say that yo soy Matthew, that is my name, or yo soy estadounidense, I'm from the United States. All of these things help in identifying someone, and therefore we will use ser. Finally, you also use ser for characteristics, things that typically do not change about a person, like Ali es inteligente y amable. Ali is intelligent. She's always going to be intelligent. That's something that doesn't change. Now, you can argue, well, what if she has a stroke, or what if something bad happens and that changes? Don't overthink these, okay? Characteristics are things that do not change over time. So, Ali es inteligente. Ali es amable. Mi novia es romántica y guapa. So we're saying that my girlfriend is both romantic and good looking. So in this case, these are characteristics that do not change. Okay? So we use topic when referring to ser. We use estar when referring to place. Okay? So you have the acronym place, which stands for position, location, action, condition, and emotion. When we talk about something's position, el baño está al lado de mi clase. The bathroom is next to my classroom. Or el lápiz está encima del pupitre. The pencil is on top of the desk. We're talking about something's position or location, therefore we're going to use estar. Another example, position and location kind of go hand in hand here, but we could say that estamos en el café ahora. That's our current location. We are in the cafe. Or estamos en Tennessee ahora. We're in Tennessee right at this moment. El baño está a la derecha de la cocina. The bathroom's to the right of the kitchen. These are all describing locations. With actions, we also use estar, and this is sort of related to something else you're learning this week. Typically, you see actions often associated with one of the progressive tenses, such as the present progressive. And for example, you see, estoy lavando los platos sucios. I am washing the dirty dishes. This is on an action, because it's something that's ongoing. It does use the present progressive tense with estar and a participle, which we'll talk about more in just a moment. And therefore, this also is going to be considered an action. It's an ongoing activity. So, estoy lavando los platos. Estoy hablando sobre español ahora. I'm talking about Spanish right now. Those are all things that are ongoing. I'm going to use estar instead of ser. Okay, also for conditions, you're going to use estar. So when you're talking about both physical and mental conditions. For example, estoy cansado esta mañana, or estoy cansada. I'm tired this morning. Well, that's a temporary condition. I may not be always tired unless you're a student, in which case you're probably always tired. But as of right now, that's a condition, something that doesn't change. So I'm tired, estoy cansado, or estoy cansada. Another example, mis niños están enfermos hoy. My children are sick today. That's something that hopefully they will not always be sick. That's a temporary condition. Mis niños están enfermos. You also use this to refer to mental conditions as well, such as mi padre está un poco loco. My dad is just a little crazy. Está loco. Okay. And then finally, emotions, how someone is feeling at a certain moment. You will also use estar when referring to emotions. So estoy triste, or ella está enojada porque tiene hambre. She's hangry or angry because she's hungry. Ella está enojada. These are emotions or temporary conditions. So I always make my students practice in English first. Number one tells you that they are from Tennessee. Number two, they are in Tennessee. Number three, her father is a police officer. And number four, she is nervous about the exam today. I want you to take a moment and give these a try in English first. Just tell me if I would use ser or estar, and tell me your reasoning from topic or place as to why you would use ser or estar. Okay, amigos, hopefully you've had a moment to give those a try. Number one tells you that they are from Tennessee. When we're saying they're from Tennessee, we're referring to their origin. Origin falls under topic, and therefore we're going to use ser. Number 2, they are in Tennessee currently. We're talking about their location or their position. Therefore, I'm going to use the verb estar because both position and location fall under place. And place is the acronym we use when referring to verbs that require estar. Number 3, her father is a police officer. We're talking about her father's profession. Profession falls under topic, and therefore we are going to use ser. And number 4, she is nervous about the exam today. Nervous would be a feeling or an emotion, a temporary condition, if you will. Those things fall under place, and therefore we're going to use estar for those things as well. Okay, now that you've had a chance to practice in English, I'd like for you to take a moment to practice in Spanish. Go ahead and take a moment, pause your audio, and give these a try. Okay, now that you've had a moment to try these, let's talk about these. Number 1 says that mi hijo quiere blank bombero. My son wants blank firefighter. We're saying that he wants to be a firefighter. So therefore, I'm saying I'm talking about his profession, something that he aspires to be. So I'm going to use the verb ser because profession falls under topic, right? The P in topic. Now, be careful. A lot of students want to say that mi hijo quiere es bombero. You do not need to conjugate ser in this case because it's preceded by a conjugated verb, and you should never have 2 conjugated verbs side by side in Spanish. So, mi hijo quiere ser bombero. Number 2, los libros blank encima de la mesa. We're going to say están here. The books are on top of the table because we're talking about the book's position or the book's location. Both location and position fall under place. And the acronym place helps us to remember when to use estar. So, los libros están encima de la mesa. And we, of course, arrived at están because the books would be they. So, we're using our bottom right box from earlier. Okay, last one. Blank las dos de la tarde. We're going to say son las dos de la tarde. And, of course, we're using ser when referring to time. Okay? Hopefully you're feeling better about the present tense and ser and estar. The last thing we're going to talk about today is the progressive tenses. Okay? Now, you probably learned the present progressive to start out. We translate these in English as ing. So walking, talking, breathing. These are all things that end in ing. We refer to these as gerunds in English. Okay? Your sort of formula that you're going to use when dealing with a progressive in Spanish, you're going to have an estar word followed by ando or yendo, okay? And that's referred to as a participle. So an estar word and a participle. If your verb ends in AR, you're going to remove the AR and add back ando. If your verb ends in ER or IR, you're going to remove that ER or IR and add back yendo. For example, I am eating. To say I am in the present tense, we're going to use the estar word estoy. So estoy, and then of course the verb for to eat is comer. Comer ends in ER. Therefore we're going to remove our ER from comer and add back yendo. So yo estoy comiendo, I am eating. Okay, you can also do these in the past tense. So instead of saying I am eating, if I want to say that I was eating, I would take an estar word in the imperfect tense and say estaba, and then my participle remains the same. Comer, I'm going to remove my ER and add back yendo. Okay? I will be eating at that time. I'm going to take an estar word in the future tense and say estaré comiendo. I will be eating. Okay? So these can happen, these progressive forms can happen in any tense of estar, okay, the present, the imperfect, the future, the preterite, any of those. Your participle will not change regardless of the tense though, okay? Again, if your participle ends in AR, if your verb ends in AR, you're going to remove the AR and add back ando to form your participle. If your verb ends in ER or IR, you're going to remove that ER or IR and add back yendo to form your participle. Now, unfortunately, there are, of course, irregular participles, which you can read about in your book, but I did want to tell you about some that stem change. So, for example, This only applies to verbs that end in IR, so our IR verbs. Some of these also have a stem change in the present participle. So for example, when you think about the verb dormir, which we talked about earlier, dormir has a stem change from O to UE in the present tense. Therefore, in the participle form, rather than changing from O to UE to end up with duermiendo or something like that, we're going to only change from O to U, ending up with durmiendo, durmiendo. Okay? Pedir is a verb which typically has a stem change from E to I. It is still going to change from E to I in the participle form, becoming pidiendo. Same thing with servir, okay? So watch out for those IR verbs when forming your participles. If an IR verb has a stem change in the present tense, it's likely going to have some kind of change to its participle as well, okay? A few examples for you here, all in the present tense. If I want to say I'm eating Chinese food, I would say that yo. I need an estar word here to begin, so yo estoy. My verb was comer. I'm going to chop off my er and add back yendo. So yo estoy comiendo la comida china. If I want to say that number 2, it says that he is studying for Spanish class. In the present tense, if I want to say he is studying, the estar word to go with he would be estar. And then again, for estudiar, which ends in AR, I'm going to remove my AR and add back ando. Él está estudiando para la clase de español. Now, if we want to say that I was eating Chinese in the past, we would say estaba comiendo. If we want to say that he was studying in the past, we would say él estaba estudiando. If we want to say that I will eat Chinese food in the future, or I will be eating, yo estaré comiendo comida china. He will be studying for Spanish class. Él estará estudiando para la clase de español. Okay, so hopefully these videos have helped you just to get a general overview of some of these topics that you should already know. Okay, now that you've done this, you may go ahead and complete your assignments for the week, and I hope that you all have a wonderful week. Take care.